What does Mountain do?
I believe it says it is a basic land that taps for colorless.
Huh.
Y'all got
heard of that
jokes.
card before.
Gets the good on deck. I see how it is.
And welcome back to another Lab Maniacs Month in Review stream. Tonight, I am joined by my adorable cat and Cameron. Cameron's used to joining me though, because he works with me and isn't a cat. But we also have the usual guest. How does that look? The usual guest appearances tonight are being two of them, not one of them. Words are hard. So we have from Playing with Power, Ryan and Folger. Say hi, wherever you are.
Hi guys, this is Ryan.
Hi, this is Folger.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, as you may or may not know, every month we go over a bit of recap over what's gone down in cEDH. We meet with a guest, or in this case, two guests, and get a distinct perspective other than just us lab maniacs, and we chat about what's going down. And it is safe to say that January 2020 has started off with a lot compared to many months. Although I've been saying that like every month for the past year, haven't I?
You've said it a few times, but it's safe to say that as January or 2020 being the year of Commander, we're probably going to have a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, there's a lot. So, as usual, let's start with some basics. We're just going to talk about some cool games that we may have played. Let's start with Ryan. Played any cool games of cEDH this month?
I sure did. I'd love to play cEDH more, but I'm doing the channel thing a lot. However,
Yes.
The beginning of this month did a really fun game with a couple of our patrons that are local. It was a lot of fun. It was a good game. I was playing Brea and had Lazov also was at the table from our good buddy Lincoln. Shout out to Lincoln. Colin was also there and Mike was there. Anyway, long story short, I was doing fun Brea things, and the short of it was I cast Time Twister with a Notion Thief on the table, and some hilarity ensued. So obviously they did not want that to happen. So what they decided to do was to try and flash in a Notion Thief of their own. That was the Lazov player, Lincoln. So that was interesting. So then kind of a proverbial counter stack happened. Then somebody tried to Assassin's Trophy my Notion Thief with Time Twister still on the stack. And so then that had to get countered as well. And then someone tried to search up something. I forget what it was exactly, but then I decided to flash in an Aven Mind Sensor on top of it.
Sounds like you had a lot of answers.
There was a good thing that Time Twister was coming because I was burning everything I had. It was a blast. I had a great time. The Notion Thief got destroyed though eventually. So we all got a full hand. We got to do it all again. Other than that, later on in that game, someone put another Aven Mind Sensor on the board. So basically, no one was just doing anything at that point. So
Yeah,
good game.
slow.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Living under
Cameron,
mind
how about
sensors
you?
are hard. I was able to actually, for a really long time, I really wasn't able to get any cEDH in, but I was able to go out twice in January. And yeah, so I was testing some changes that I've been doing for Thassa. A lot of people on Thassa were moving over to consultation, and I kind of had been delayed on that. But with Flash, it opens up a lot more lines for it and has the ability just to do consultation instantly with very minimal downsides. And basically, I was just pulling out like a Neoform package and putting in Flash and Hulk, and then the rest of consultation. And I was trying that out, and it was really solid until somebody put a Grafdigger's Cage in play. And so I just, on turn 4, I hard cast Protean Hulk. And then I just
As one
swung
does.
every single turn after that with a Protean Hulk and a Tassiger for 10, and I ended the game with Protean Hulk beats. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? It's a 7-mana 6/6.
Yeah, it just has evasion in that death trigger. Like, no one can block immediately.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, rather than winning with a death trigger, it just won with combat beats. And that was one where at one point, in order to not lose, I had to consult for a counter spell. And I consulted for a Flusterstorm and exiled roughly 60 cards. And so the entire win package for consult was gone. Thassa's Oracle, Labman, and Jace were all gone. Actually, no, I don't even have Labman. It was Thassa's Oracle and Jace Maniac were gone. All of my infinites were gone. The only stuff I had really left in the deck was I had like a Regrowth, 2 counterspells, a Twister, a Yawgmoth's Will, and a Beast Within, and the rest was just junk.
So a bunch of cards to get you nothing, and 1 removal spell.
Yeah, I ended up Yawg-willing to overload a Rift into Yawg-willing a Twister, and lost that, but then got rid of the other board that Urza had, and then just the 10 damage a turn got there.
Nice. Consulting for anything is always a feels bad, because either it's at the bottom of the deck or it's at the top. It's never.
I'd say the very first time I cast Consult in Food Chain Sliver, Food Chain, which I named, was the very first card. It was the top of my library, and
it's so bad.
I did that in my upkeep.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, it happens. But what about you, Folger? Did you get any games in?
I've played a lot of CEDH this month, testing out like the Sushi Hulk meta, as it were. But I've got a pretty good segue off your losing all of your win cons and then having to manually do it. I ended up playing a game with Curiosity Control or 4-color Rashmi, and I ended up losing Tainted Pact and Demonic Consultation and Dramatic Reversal. So I had exactly Labman Jace left, and I ended up sticking a Seedborn Muse and sitting there for 7 turns, activating Thrasios. and I manually drew my entire deck and then hardcasted Jace and plussed him. And
nice.
I'm in love. Where have you been my whole life?
Yeah.
That sounds like a fair lab man to me.
That does. I mean,
I love manual lab man.
I do have a casual Afara deck that's whole goal in white blue is to manually lab Maniac. So I 100% appreciate that.
It was a slog. And then I ended up, speaking of slog games, I had 2 games I wanted to highlight, and it kind of goes with the Notion Thief. I was playing Kenrith, but I have a Kenrith control deck, which is a Curiosity control shell, just with like adding Kenrith in 5-color and adding white is pretty much what it is. And I ended up getting Notion Thiefed on my very first Kenrith draw card activation. And I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up just every single turn I was like holding up mana and passed. So I just kept putting like 1/1 counters on Kenrith. And I didn't kill a player with commander damage. I killed the entire table with a 15/15 Kenrith with trample.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you is that a Training Grounds Kenrith?
Absolutely. Training Grounds is the hotness.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Dan? You had anything fun?
Nothing too flashy. Our meta's still mostly the nonsense that you've heard of in the past. We finally got some people trying Flash Hulk, and the only games that Flash Hulk has won has been with manual consultation lines. Like, Hulk has never been effectively flashed, and it's never even come up that the deck had Flash Hulk in it, because it just ended up being the best thing it could do is to do manual consult and hard cast an Oracle or something. Yeah. So I just found that amusing after all the discussion around how Oracle made Flash Hulk super good, and then the Flash Hulk Oracle deck consistently just hard casts Oracle instead.
Makes sense. I mean, that's kind of the big part about it, is that Consult has a really solid A+B, and then Flash was just an instant speed win, and now you have a really solid A+B that also can be assembled with an instant speed win. So you're still your primary win is still just Consult, and you just may happen to luck into the Flash package. I mean, if you get Flash, then you just use your other tutor to get Hulk, and you still do the same thing.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty solid. I don't mind it, but it does kind of suck at times. It is kind of scary. I mean, even I'm trying Flash Hulk again. I mean, the last time I tried Flash Hulk, there was like a 7 creature package that I hated. Now there's only one extra card.
Let's be clear. The last time you tried Flash Hulk, half of it was value Hulk. You were like flashing for a Seedborn Muse.
Yes, that is true.
So
Yes.
it was a little different than Flash Hulk for like a real pile.
Yeah.
Well,
but yes, I get what you mean.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's what it is, dude.
100% have fun with that. Now it's not the best thing ever, but you'll have fun.
So now that we're talking about Thassa's Oracle and Flash, we might as well move on to the fish in the room. So Thassa's Oracle got printed in Theros Return to Death, the most recent Magic the Gathering set. It is effectively a laboratory maniac that allows you to win with 0 cards in your deck, but not as a static ability, as a triggered enter the battlefield ability. The impact of this means that removal is no longer a valid answer to deal with the lab maniac effect after a consultation or a tainted pact that exiles your library or any other method of emptying it. So a whole class of interaction for the combo was removed with Thassa's Oracle, and that tends to start causing homogeneity issues. The other problem with Thassa's Oracle is that it is a 2-mana creature, which very neatly tucks into basically every Protean Hulk pile that exists that isn't some sort of Phyrexian Delver pile with sack outlets and iterative Hulk triggers. So Thassa's Oracle can slot into a pile alongside Spellseeker and a way to create black mana like Blood Pet, so that you can fetch a demonic consultation with Spellseeker, exile your deck in response to the Thassa's Oracle trigger with the Blood Pet mana and consult, and win. Or you can do a Breakfast Hulk combo where Nomad Zenkor and Cephalid Illusionist target each other and do the thing and mill your deck, and then Thassa's Oracle is there on the stack the whole time waiting for this all to resolve and empty the deck and then say, oh, look, you win. And that still has room for whatever you want. There's another 1 mana in that pile. Yeah. So the printing of Thassa's Oracle has created some homogeneity issues, given that the best strategies prior to Thassa's Oracle were either food or Flash Hulk into something like Shuffle Hulk and instant speed win, or Consult at sorcery speed. And now those 2 decks are the same thing, because there's no real downside to do one and not the other. And I think that succinctly sums up the issue.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, pretty much. Then we also had, that's the issue, but then we also had a lot of talk going on with the CAG and the ban list announcement that happened and everything regarding that. So there's been, along with the fact that it can sit into Flash, there has been a request from the cEDH side of the community to the rules committee about banning Flash, just because it is the only no board state win that currently exists. And I mean, you could say Consult is, but Consult prior to Thassa's Oracle was entirely sorcery speed at minimum for some portion of it. Now with Thassa's Oracle, you have ways of doing it at instant speed with Flash or with other spells, but Flash is the really big one. So there was a lot of hope that January 21st, I think, or whatever Monday that was it the 20th, that we would see a ban on Flash, and we didn't. And now we get to deal with possible endless fish hulks for a little while. I don't know. Have any of you guys actually played in a pod with actual factual fishhawk?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
And did it take over the pod, so to say?
Mm-mm.
Very much so in mine.
I'm curious, what kind of pod was it that you were in for that, Folger?
Okay, so it was Divergent Control. I was playing Kinrith Control, and then there was Edric, and then Fishhulk.
Okay.
And me and the Divergent Control player assumed we would have, between the two of us, enough to beat the Fishhulk.
Yeah.
We were wrong. We got slammed 2 games in a row.
And that's kind of what I assume. The fact that you said you had Edric in there, kind of what you have. This is where like Dan's meta is entirely mid-range control value town engine. It's because everybody is dealing with needing to have endless counter spells, and having a Gitrog or a Food Chain Corvold or a Edric in there where you just have a combo, or even like a Yisan or a Selvala where they're just trying to go all out combo. It makes it so that 1v3 really only is 1v2 against Fishhulk. And that hurts. That hurts a lot. So it'll be, actually, I probably want to hear if Fishhulk sticks around or if the player switches off of it, because that's kind of the assumption that the rules committee has had, is that having the best deck out there is going to be boring for people eventually, and they're going to move off of it, and everybody's not going to be on it. But I'm really curious what happens, whether everybody moves off of it or everybody converges onto it, because in the end we're trying to have fun, we're trying to have a fun game and just have a lot of interaction. And if one person's on Fishhulk, even if there's like even if your playgroup's like 8 people, you're still going to see Fishhulk like half the time, and you're going to have to deal with the fact that you have to have everybody being active on counter spells half of the time.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. Have any of you guys actually considered playing Fishhulk? I'm curious.
I don't actually think Flash Hulk is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to put on it, because it is. I think we're kind of in agreement that it is kind of the best deck right now. But it's also not everyone's style. So maybe walking into a blind meta or something like that, or maybe you want to play at a tournament and there's maybe prizes on the line or something like that. You might want to see about bringing the best deck, and you might see that kind of convergence in a blind meta. But just like you said, Cameron, we're all here to have fun, and that's not everyone's flavor of fun. And so whether or not that actually ends up being, converging a lot of metas or infecting or taking over a lot of metas, I'm not sure if it will, but it really just depends on your play group. I'm not a Flash Hulk player personally. It's never been my style. I'm an underdog kind of guy, and it's definitely an overdog right now. So
yeah. I'm kind of in the spot where I'm right there. I like trying to find value where people don't find value. I like trying to push things as far as I can. I mean, that's Thassa is kind of always perpetually behind the curve by just a little bit. And even I am trying Flash Hulk now because I kind of have to assume it's there. And it kind of does suck because it's not interesting. I personally find like I would personally enjoy putting Shadow of Doubt in my deck more than I would enjoy putting Flash in my deck.
Shadow of Doubt is amazing. That's such a great card. It's not played enough, in my opinion. Yeah. I love that card.
Yeah. So I think let me see. I lost our agenda for a moment. We've been talking. We've got band announcement. We've got Thassa's Oracle. Do you think we've labored on this enough, or are we going to wrap back around to this at some point?
That's more than enough time. Let's talk about the cEDH Staples update. I'm going to post a link to a Reddit post.
Yeah.
That was a lot of words that were the same. Cameron, do you want to talk about this one at all, or does anyone in particular feel motivated to discuss this Staples update? Like maybe, I don't know, Ryan?
Who posted it?
Yeah, like the guy who made it.
Yeah.
So basically, this whole idea of a competitive EDH staples list stemmed from the fact that I wanted to make a box of staples because I have a collection and they're all sitting in binders and they're all organized, and that's all good and fun and fine. But whenever you're trying to assemble a deck, it takes like 2 hours because I got to pull binder, draw card, pull binder, draw card, and it takes so long to do. And I've just always found myself drawing the exact same cards over and over and over again. So I wanted to compile into a binder. Well, I was like, well, what are the staples of the format? Which, I can kind of get a general idea of what that is, but what's the actual list of it? The common ones are kind of out there, Lurker's list of staples and stuff like that. But that was starting to get a little bit out of date. I didn't see that updating as frequently, or it wasn't updated at least to where I wanted to put the box. And so I was like, well, how can I make this myself? And basically what I did was I took the cEDH deck list database and literally grabbed every single card from it and put it into a spreadsheet, and then grabbed the ones where they had the most iterations. So,
solid.
I mean, when in doubt, make it yourself.
Yeah, I did that a few times too.
Yep. So there was a couple of things that I did with this cEDH staples list was I only took it if it had 10 or more iterations. So if it showed up in at least 10 separate decks, I put it in there. I excluded basic lands, and I didn't put any of the alternate lists from the cEDH database in there because I felt that might skew things at some points to create maybe a sway, maybe one in too far, maybe in one direction on some lists. Because there are some alternate lists on the cEDH deck list database that have like 6 alternates. So that would churn like 6 more copies of that one deck in there. Gotcha. So I didn't include any of that. I also didn't include submitted but not accepted, the rejected ones, the meme ones, the outdated ones. I didn't include any of those. So
okay.
So that's where it came from. And then obviously they kind of update the cEDH deck list database once a month. So I figured, well, how about I actually take that and do the same thing? So every time that they update the database, how about I update this cEDH staples list as well? And I'd actually like to see what this data looks like a year from now when it's been updated month to month, where the meta kind of evolves. Like, are we going to see upticks in Angel's Grace? Are we going to see downticks in certain things? It was already very interesting to see what the data looked like, because we immediately saw Thassa's Oracle jumped 11 entries, from the last update. Yeah. Labman dropped 6 in one. So things like that. It was kind of cool to see how that data actually was, for lack of a better word, kind of showing that path of what's happening to the meta. So I think it'll be interesting to see where it sits in about a year from now. Yeah, but what do you guys think of it?
I appreciate it quite a bit. It's something that we used to manage a little bit. Dan put a lot of work into handling like the cEDH deck lists for a really long time on our subreddit, and then it kind of fell out and ended up going over to a Google Doc and now onto the website. And I really appreciate getting this, because I've used Dan did do a similar style of a staples cards, but it was more of a like core decks. So rather than saying these are all the staples, it's like, here is the blue black X core, and here is the 78 cards that are going to be the same in 99% of the decks that you play that are blue black plus another color or two. Which just is the fact.
Or whatever.
The bug shell, which is, it's in all of the Thrasios File Smasher decks. It's in all of the Thrasios Tymna decks. It's in all of the Yidris decks. I mean, that whole thing. So it was kind of fun seeing that, and I'm curious if you did the same thing, if you would find it, what the current stat would be from there if you had the core decks that might be a nice spot to add on to that if you ever looked at that.
Yeah, I like that. So right now I'm keeping the data month over month to try and track its history over time. So I'm also keeping the actual deck lists themselves, so to see whenever one drops off or gets added or things like that. So I am keeping track of all that data. And I would say after between 3 and 6 months, I'll actually make the data available so that other people can extrapolate stuff from it. Right now it's just in a messy form, so I don't think people are going to get much out of it, but I want to put that out there. Yeah. I'll put it out there for people to use at a later point in time. So in case they want to get other types of data out of it, what's the average CMC of the meta? We all know what it is, but it's
that's a pretty cool metric to track, though. I know for sure it's dropped because I actually observed it drop. The average CMC of ad nauseum decks was like 1.8 to 2 in 2016, and now it's closer to 1.4 to 1.7.
Yeah.
So like the average CMC is actually dropped by almost half a CMC, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
I just think this is super cool. Angel's Grace got added to your list as a staple at the same time as Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah.
Sure did.
White sources saw an uptick, and I'm proud of my boy Drown in the Loch. That card is one of my favorites in recent memory.
It's so good.
That card is a house.
I'm glad that made it on.
Yeah.
That card was criminally underplayed.
So I had a situation where somebody hardcast an Adnaz and they had 4 cards in their graveyard. And we're like, okay, guys, he is going to win if this resolves. And there was one person before me in the rotation. I'm like, but I need you to do something. I can't do anything because the only thing I had in my hand was Drown in the Loch, and he had 4 cards in his bin. And so I'm like, I don't care what you do. I need you to do something so he interacts. If you do that, because we knew he had a counter spell in hand, because he'd flipped it off of Bob. I was like, I need you to do something. I don't care what it is. I need you to do something. And he's like, oh, all right. Narset's Reversal? No, that doesn't work.
Narset's Reversal.
Nice.
Eventually, like, the counter war happened, but in the end, he ended up getting his Adnaz, but it ended up he got nothing out of it, and he ended up value sculpting it, and then it got twistered away the next turn. But
nice.
Yeah, so this was the same game I won with Protein Hulk Beats because he was down at like 8 life, so it was worth it.
So your Protein Hulk Beats was a one shot.
On one of them, yeah. On other people,
well, beats are beats, you know.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a few new cards that are not Thassa's Oracle. So, Underworld Breach, that's tearing shit up, right?
I actually haven't seen one. I played against decks that had them, but there were within 6 turns there was like 2 or 3 twisters every game.
Oh, yeah, that'll happen too. I know Cobble's been tearing up Trice with it, having some nutty piles. He's been posting on Twitter about it. I've also seen people fiddling with Kroxa and Uro, the two, the Rakdos and the Simic Titan from the set that only stick if they escape, but they have a bunch of ETBs. You seen anything with those yet?
A bunch of people talking. Ryan or Folger, either of you guys?
We did our, what was it, Theros Beyond Death video, where we took commanders from the sets and brewed competitive decks, or as competitive as we could get them, decks around them, and we had Kroxa and Uro in that. Kroxa, I would say, out of all the Rakdos World Gorger decks, is probably the best option because he's the best by himself.
Wow,
I agree.
Better than Anya?
I don't know if Anya agrees with that, but
no, Anya's faster for sure, but with Anya cannot beat the card counterspell. It has 2 answers to it, 3 answers to it.
Fair enough.
It's got 3.
And Kroxa, over a long course of a grindy game, will generate more value and be better overall, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, because if Kroxa hits play, he's a 1 for 3 just by casting him, because everybody discards a card.
Yeah, for 2 mana.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yep.
and that's insane value. That's really good.
Yep.
I mean,
not to mention that you could also hit somebody. You can also bolt somebody if they don't want to lose any of their non-land cards.
Yeah, or if they're hellbent, which
Yeah,
they're kind of already losing anyway at that point. But
yeah,
I mean, I convinced Dan to run Nicobolus the Ravager as
And
4 mana.
so
Everybody
good.
discard a card.
My God. I did actually put Croxa in my Timna Crown deck. That's you may have sold me on that shit.
Yeah. He is good value.
Yeah. I mean, with the World Gorger loop and stopping it, just recasting Croxa from the command zone over and over win right there, unless I can stop it, which is awesome. You could also do it mid loop, necromancy in response to the trigger.
Nice.
Let it ETB, let it flicker.
That's just cruel. That kills the table.
I love Rakdos.
That's fascinating. That's so cool.
I like that
Good
a lot.
stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
I also saw Underworld Breach. Right now it's being played in Opus Thief, and it's also being played in Brea. Both of those are seeing some good value out of that because Brea already has Brea already has Lion's Eye Diamond and Wheel of Fortune. So it's like nothing to slot that in as an extra win con.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And Notion Thief with wheels into something like a Labman or a Thassa's Oracle with Opus Thief. That one was a kind of an easy slot too.
Sure.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I haven't seen too much of it yet, but I've definitely seen it in those, and it seems like really good value.
Good. Okay. Let's see.
I've been trying Uro out a bit. Never actually managed to draw him, so I couldn't draw any conclusions, unfortunately.
What deck were you playing him in?
So I was trying him in a Thrasios Timna Scepter Consult, like a very traditional kind of deck, just as a grind piece, value piece. And I tried him in a Curious Control deck, but I never saw him, really. And the one time I drew him, he got twisted away, not wheeled away. I put him in basically as Twister Insurance, or as Wheel Insurance, like a way I can gain value even if I'm Hellbent, because that seemed pretty good and happens a lot. But all I saw were Twisters, not the Windfalls this time, so
Gotcha.
didn't matter anyways.
I know some people in the Tasker server were talking about Uro, and my only concern with that is just as a sorcery speed cantrip that you get back, like if you need any action and you activate Tassiger and they just give you Uro, it's just like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, but if you could activate Tassiger, probably should have escaped Uro. You know, unless you want to win against Flash on the stack, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
But if there's a Flash on the stack, who's really giving you Uro?
No one.
Yeah, good point.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You will only be beaten by yourself.
I really have issues with having sorcery speed cantrips and Tassiger. I mean, I'm all for Brainstorm, but most other cantrips I'm just not a fan of.
Gotcha.
And that is a contentious point, so we will move on. Yes. Let's talk about Cobble's post. Well, let's not actually talk about it. I'm just going to post Cobble's post on Flash. Just go read this if you haven't. It's a very interesting discussion about why Flash should be banned from a distinct perspective of Sushi Hulk is everywhere and homogeneity is bad for the meta. It doesn't even really touch on that. It is more of a gameplay discussion, and it is worth a read. But I'm not going to summarize it because it will not do justice to the way Cobble writes. So read that if you're interested. That is all.
100% worth it. I don't know if either Folger or Ryan have read it, but
I have, yeah.
Across the whole like ban list update and the fallout after that, I think I probably posted links to this thread probably a dozen or more times to people on like where there really isn't an understanding from a casual perspective as to why Flash is a problem for EDH as a whole and what it does for competitive EDH. And it does a really solid way of walking you through the challenges from the perspective of what EDH is supposed to be, what's supposed to be fun. And I highly recommend, if you haven't read this, please read it. If you're watching this or reading this, this is in the description below, or it is in the podcast description. It is there. Please read this.
Next up, I suppose.
I think it was actually a really great article. I would say definitely pay special attention to the idea where he mentions sandbagging, because everyone says, this is a fun format. We're fun. We're here to have a good time. And when you get into the point where everyone's sandbagging, seeing who will fire first, that creates a very unfun situation, unfun part. And that's what I really liked, him putting color and flavor and real words around to that whole thing, because I think a lot of people were saying from a casual perspective, or I guess from a non-competitive perspective is what I should say more generally, is, what's the big deal? It doesn't really affect us much and all these other things. But the idea of that sandbagging part of it is what creates that unfun environment. And he just put it so well in that. I really, really like that article. So definitely check it out if you haven't read it.
Yes. With that, I would like to transition into not only appreciating Cobble, but also appreciating everybody that's in the CAG. That has been a massive community sticking point during this last week. I don't know if you were on Twitter at all, Ryan or Folger, but Shivim took a lot of heat from pretty much everybody. And as somebody who kind of reached out to cEDH to try to figure out what it was, I love the guy. He's great. He's really fun to listen to, talk to. And I mean, he sat down, got handed a Gitrog deck, and beat me and Dan in Vegas with it the first time piloting.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. That
good,
was
clean win too.
Yeah. And
you handed the man Gitrog too, of all things.
He asked for
smoked
it.
Us.
He specifically said, "Does anybody have a cEDH Gitrog deck that I can play?" And we're like, "Yes, we will do that." And Papa Bless Smurs, you're awesome. Thanks for shipping it out. We had a full-on Gitrog deck, handed it to him, and actually we had somebody who played Gitrog basically sit next to him, and like whenever he tutored, he's like, "Probably should go for this turn." And because Shivim would get really like, cool. He would get like 2 or 3 cards, and he was on the right lines. It's just, you should go here, and it was really great.
That's cool that he had that help, that pilot, if you will, to help him steer through it.
He didn't even need much help, honestly.
No, he didn't. He was pretty solid. He loved it.
It was mostly like, this line is better than that line, and then he just like won. that was basically what went down.
Yeah. We tried.
This is a common trend that we're starting to see with the CAG, where something will happen that might be cEDH relevant or whatever, and then all of a sudden the CAG just gets bombarded with all these dissenting opinions from both sides. And for lack of a better word, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, because no matter what decision that they're going to make somebody unhappy, and they're going to hear about it and get bombarded with it on Twitter.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the CAG is an acronym referring to the Commander Advisory Group, which is basically a bunch of more active community members than the Rules Committee, who are here to try and assimilate information from all different parts of the Magic community and relay that information to the Rules Committee so that they can have a bit of a wider reach in their ban list decisions. So
make more informed decisions about the game. Yep.
So the Commander Advisory Group gives them information and has discussions with them, but ultimately doesn't actually get a vote. So not only do they hear the complaints and criticisms from both sides, they also are powerless to actually affect change, because that is up to the Rules Committee. So people will blame them for things they can't even do, which is a bit rough.
Yeah.
Don't blame people for things they can't even do.
They can't control the outcome. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say we had somebody in chat mention that Ryan, I know you got in a game with Sheldon. I don't know, Folger, were you there for that as well?
I was. It was really fun.
How was it? So I read Sheldon's article about it, and I thought he colored it a little weird, where he kind of was like, all of the attention was on the game and making sure that like everybody played really tight, and he said he didn't really have a great conversation with you guys. And I don't know if that was him just coloring it for his audience, or how did you guys feel? Do you feel like you had fun conversation while you played with him and you had a good time and it was a good game?
Folger, I want you to color it from your perspective from in the game, and then I can color it from outside the game because I let the rest of the crew actually
Okay.
play with Sheldon, and I
Cool.
just observed from outside. I wanted them to be a part of that. So, Folger, I'll let you start.
All right, sounds good. So pretty much, I think we had a great game, and there was like some banter back and forth and stuff. But I'm sure everyone was feeling a bit of the pressure of like playing with like Sheldon.
Mm-hmm.
That may have like hindered it, but like we had like a bunch of like super fun moments, and like there was a crowd like around us all, so it was getting pretty hype and stuff. It was a good
Okay.
time. I don't think the way that he worded it was kind of weird because like we all talked like during the game, but I guess we were just like I guess like the passing of priority and like little like nuances that are cEDH specific
Mm-hmm.
are kind of, I guess that may have taken him out of like the like social aspect of EDH.
I could understand that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a really good time though, and I ended up accidentally telling one of Adam the line that I needed to take to win, which was fun, I guess.
Yeah, he played a Yogg will and didn't even. I don't. So
Yeah.
Folger helped him with that, so that was good.
Yep. I'm just here to help.
See, we're all here to have fun. We're all here to
Yep.
have a good time. Yeah. So from an outside perspective, watching them, I saw that he was kind of studying and doing different things. And Garrett was the one who was helping him because we gave him Nagila to play with.
Okay. Yep.
And, it seemed like he was having a good time. And we were doing some cut up back and forth and stuff like that. And he actually approached us beforehand, the day before, and just wanted to introduce himself and just have a quick chat with us.
Oh,
And
wow.
just, he's like, hey, I'm Sheldon. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know who you are.
Yeah.
So it was really cool that he approached us to kind of just have that conversation. And the one distinct thing that I really remember about that whole conversation was the very, very end. He's like, well, I've got to get going, but there's something very important that I want you to know before I, walk out or whatever. And forgive my somewhat paraphrasing here because I don't want to quote the man. He's like, I'm not here to ruin your format, is what he said to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's like, I'm not here to ruin your format.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. I thought it was great that he said that.
For sure.
It really said a lot, really went a long way, in my opinion, for him to come over, introduce himself, have a conversation, and say that as well. So it was really cool. Yeah. I like that a lot.
I know I sat down and I ended up playing 2 games with him at the Command Fest Seattle. And I'd say that sometimes conversations like it, when you're with somebody who is at somewhat of a celebrity status, there's not a lot that you can naturally connect on, and so you kind of have to connect around the game. And thinking about that, I totally understand how if you're talking about like passing priority, it could throw him out of his conversation loop where he's normally like talking about the game and what's going on and how crazy stuff is or whatnot. That provides a lot more character to his article, and that gives me a little bit more insight with that, just because I've had situations where I'm sitting down and people want to play games with me and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's have a fun time, and you don't necessarily remember them or the conversation that you had with them because mostly it was about the game itself and having fun. So you get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that was I'm glad that Magnivore in chat, thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad.
That's Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know people. No, that's good. Thank you. I think the other thing that I wanted to make sure that we did while we're talking about CAG and RC is mention Charlotte, or at JQL Girl. She also put out a bit of an article about what the decisions that the CAG helped with and what's going on with the rules committee, and provided a lot of context, because a lot of the biggest challenge with the ban list update was how muddied it was and how there was no insight as to why they did it. In fact, mostly the ban list update looked like, hey, we got a new site. Oh, and by the way, no changes. It really didn't feel like there was a lot of thought into the we're not doing any changes and they're not giving it to us. And so it's kind of the CAG who has been providing some of that. And I really appreciated. Charlotte had an article, and I just can't remember. I didn't have a link for it.
There should be a blog post in our Discord, but we can always just put it in the description of the video.
Maybe somebody can throw it in the chat or something.
Yeah,
like
if
that.
someone finds it, put it in chat. But for now, I'd say we should just keep moving.
We can move on.
And we'll link Charlotte's article for the YouTube video as well.
Yeah.
The one thing I did like about Charlotte's article, all maybe personal opinions aside of it, was I like that she at least gave the proverbial peek behind the curtain into somewhat of their process.
Yes.
So it wasn't as much I'm just going to throw a dart and, okay, I guess it didn't hit anything, no bans. It wasn't, it at least kind of gave us a peek behind the curtain of what that process looks like. From, like I said, personal opinions aside of what it all ended up being ultimately, I appreciated that she gave us that.
I definitely agree on that.
Yeah.
I think that we can move on. Now, this happened yesterday. Did you guys get your secret lairs?
No. I'm going to be buying a bunch of those pack rats, though.
Yes. So if you didn't notice, it's a little late. Secret Lair was back for 2020, and it was rats. You had Maronar, you had Ink-Eye Servant of the Oni, you had pack rats, and there was one more. Was it
Relentless Rats?
No, it wasn't.
It was like 4 Relentless Rats or something, I think.
No, there's pack rat, and then there's the new one that gets like plus for whatever.
Rat Colony?
I think so.
Yeah, it may have been the new Relentless Rats.
I don't know.
Either way.
Yeah, it's Rat Colony. That's what it was.
You can tell we're definitely really up on the old secret lair.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Rat Colony. Yeah, that's it.
All in all,
looks like someone got in trouble for posting the drop. Sorry, Adam. Nightbot is overeager, and we need to whitelist people for the next link they post. Nonsense like that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, don't post links in chat. The whole bot.
Yeah, he eats the bot, or the bot eats the links.
Mm-hmm. It was only 5-second timeout. Somebody posted enough that they got like a 2-day timeout at one point. I just laughed.
Yeah, it was Alan trying to post his Instagram that I was referring to, asking him to post his Instagram. Nightbot slammed him. That was a bit frustrating.
Into the bot. That's great.
So we also know about another Magic video game coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of, I think.
Magic Legends.
Is it a spoiler or a leak?
I think it was another spoiler. I think there was an article, but essentially it's like an isometric. It's like a Diablo game, but it's an MMO.
Gotcha.
But so it's coming like out really close to like Diablo 4.
Wait, Diablo 4's announced?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't actually care.
Oh yeah.
Never mind.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So yeah, it's essentially like a isometric top-down third-person action RPG, but thus far the only thing that drops is spells. There's no like items; it's just spells that are dropping. It's weird.
That does seem weird.
So they're releasing a bad Path of Exile?
Yikes! Shots fired. But yes,
with what they've told us thus far, yes.
Do they have plans to make it a valid competitor? Because Path of Exile is free and hugely popular. And Diablo is not free and also hugely popular.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And Magic is not hugely popular.
And very much not free.
Yeah,
if there's any truth.
I'm sure.
Might I point you to
Underground Sea is
the
$800?
well,
for real.
while we were talking about the staples list, I looked at the nice solid card costs. Card Kingdom for the staples was what, 7,200 to 11.5K as the estimated price for the staples.
For one, if you wanted to buy one
of each, and there's 200 some odd cards in this list.
Yeah,
Admittedly, it doesn't help that a third of that is Time Twister.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And duels are in there too.
Could be banned
Yeah.
just on
That is true.
Come on.
Very
One
true.
of the Power Nines legal?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So what's Shatter the Sky?
So I added this in here because this Shatter the Sky is the new 4-mana Wrath.
It's the new Wrath of God, right?
Yes, it is. So it is
God, that card's
4
bad,
mana sorcery. Destroy all, or sorry, if each player that has a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card, destroy all creatures. And the reason it's in here is because Morrow pointed at Shatter the Sky as a way they're changing white to make it better. They are trying to change what white cares about in order to try to power it up in some way. So it looks like they're trying to add some of like the power 5 or greater that was in Naya back in the Shards of Alara time into white. I don't know if it's gonna be anything good, but it's new. I mean, we might see white change. I mean, white's still the trashiest color in EDH. And
wait, hold up.
Isn't that a?
I know it's hard to believe, but that's the truth.
Like, isn't the power 4 greater a mechanic? Is on like Stubborn Denial? Isn't it like Ferocious or something?
Yeah.
Ferocious as a mechanic there, but that only cares about you. White has to care about everybody.
Because it's bad. Gotcha.
Yes, and Naya was power 5 or greater, and they had a bunch of triggered abilities based off of that. So I don't know.
But they're giving the color of small creatures that spread out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Power.
So they're trying to change what white cares about.
Make it card draw.
Yeah. Give it card draw. You know. There's a gentleman named Charles. He's on Twitter and stuff, and he's kind of prolific about mono white and mono white EDH and cEDH. And he adds a lot of flavor about the things that mono white does and doesn't do. And kind of the general consensus is what you guys just said. It's like, give it card draw, give it ramp, let it do the things that literally all the colors, at least to some effect, do. Even red gets that
impulsive draw.
Exactly. The impulsive draw, exactly.
Give it 100 land packs variance.
Yeah.
If you have less cards in your hand than your opponent at the beginning of your upkeep, search your deck for 3 cards and put them into your hand.
Okay, not that good. Hold up.
Yeah.
But no, there are a ton of ways to do a land tap style variant that you're just not doing.
The thing that I thought was the most insightful about white was something, I think it was posted on Twitter today, I can't exactly remember, is that maybe it was on Reddit. Anyway, long story short, the one thing that white always seems to do with things like Night of the White Orchid and all these other things is they seem to always say, well, everyone else is doing better, so why don't we let you catch up a little?
Oh, yeah.
It's like always instinctively in a worse position. Land tax, Night of the White Orchid, Oreskos Explorer, all these other things that ramp you or draw you cards, Alms Collector. They're always like, well, you're in a worse spot, so let me try and catch you up. So you can at best, be at parity if you do everything right in white. And that's a bad position to be in. And I wish they would let you somehow pull ahead, and they just never give it to us.
Let you not suck mechanically.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
So
the core mechanic of white is you're worse than the other colors.
Yeah.
Here's a potato.
Yeah, exactly.
So their mindset that white has all the answers, so we can't give them card draw so that they draw more answers, is one of Morrow's key things about why white can't have card draw. And I mean, as far as the mono white and EDH, that's a deck I have, and I've had it since 2008. It's 8.5 Tails, and the whole thing is I have a Wrath of God. I have to trade this Wrath of God for 2 cards from each player for it to be worthwhile for me to cast. If I cast this and there aren't 6 creatures going to the graveyard, it is not worth me casting it. That's how bad card advantage is. I have to 6 for 1 in order to say I will cast this.
Real briefly, comment on White has all the answers. What are the strongest removal spells that have existed in the past 2 years of Standard?
Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy.
Assassin's
So
Trophy.
green black,
Golgari,
green blue. What, like Noxious Grasp, Aether Gust? We're looking at Fatal Push getting printed in Kaladesh. That's a few years ago, though. Like,
yeah.
what are these white spells that all the answers?
Yeah, what are these crazy white spells that have every answer?
Yeah.
They haven't been printed in a long time, but the last one that was really great was Path to Exile.
Yeah.
Oh, that was what, 2011?
I was going to say.
Yeah.
That was 2000.
Literally 10 years.
And that was printed.
Really? Wow.
That was
2011
the same
was
time.
Innistrad. Path was Alara.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it was conflict. Yep, you're right.
That was at the same time that Lightning Bolt was legal in Standard. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So basically where's this great removal that they're talking about?
Yeah.
It's Wrath of God, Armageddon, Balance. It's the old stuff that isn't legal anywhere or isn't played or can't be played because it's not legal. Yeah.
So Rip White, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some audience topics of choice. So these are from Twitter today instead of Facebook. We occasionally alternate, and I forgot to post on Facebook. So Twitter supplied us with our audience topics this time. Number 1, with the growing popularity of online cEDH gameplay, how would you best recommend getting into the format for new and already invested at a casual level players? Where do you start? Folger, what do you think? Where would you start?
I would start with watching lots of cEDH gameplay videos, and then if you've already played normal EDH, I would take what strategy you like best and try to apply that to competitive. So like if you like a Storm deck, then play Storm in competitive. So like one of my problems was I ended up cycling through about 10 competitive decks before like settling on Control as like what I like to play. So if you can start off with like the deck that you're going to stick with, that's super helpful. And the other thing is cEDH players allow proxies. This format is too expensive to have multiple decks. And if it's too expensive to have one deck, just proxy. So I would start there.
Hashtag watch Playing with Power MTG, the Labman.
There we go.
Boom. Catch up on that.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
I think a really good place to start is get a commander that you already know and love and start to dial it up. So sometimes jumping all the way into cEDH can be a little bit jarring because all of a sudden everyone's like pass priority, stack resolve, you have priority, you're going to do anything on my upkeep, and so that can be kind of jarring from a casual perspective, kind of going back to what we said about Sheldon. He ended up kind of getting into the game too much and didn't have as much banter as he was normally used to. So taking something like, let's say you really like Joyra and you like that kind of Cheerios thing. Well, Joyra is also a competitive deck. So if you can maybe start taking that commander that you love and start to kind of dial up the power level of it, you can ease into it a lot better. And it's already kind of a familiar territory. So you're not doing something complicated like Gitrog, for example. And it allows you to really kind of ease your way in or dip your toe into the water, if you will.
Pretty solid. Yeah, that's really good advice. I would add on there that if you are interested in cEDH, one of the biggest challenges that people have had that have talked to me is getting your friends interested so that you can play. Because if you don't have a pod, then it's actually much more difficult to actually have fun with it. And in that regard, I would say that some of the MTG Goldfish episodes where they play competitive decks was actually a really fun way to look at how casual players play when they're just handed a really strong deck, because they aren't super competitive. They have their own like internal ban list that bans Soul Ring, and then they're handed decks with Mox Diamond, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, and it's just like, what do you do when you can do everything in the world? And they actually had a lot of fun with it. because everybody's playing a similarly powered deck and they're going at it, and there's not a really big imbalance. And they're making misplays, but they're making misplays together as a group as everybody's trying to figure things out. So if you have people that you play with, but you want to try playing cEDH, showing them some of those gameplay videos might entice them to give it a shot.
That's a great recommendation. We should.
It really is. I like that
video
a lot.
as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Cameron, can you drop a link to the Lab Maniacs Discord in chat while I read the next question?
Yeah.
Forget how to do it with Nightbot because I am technologically incompetent, apparently. Question number 2. With the growth of cEDH in paid events and the growth of spectating cEDH content creators, what sort of trajectory is the format taking?
Ooh.
Anyone have a strong opinion on this question?
I guess I kind of do. I mean, so I started playing cEDH about a year and a half ago when I watched your guys' video on the Gitrog deck tech.
Nice.
And that's the deck I started with.
Nice.
And it was a learning curve to say the least. But yeah. But
yeah,
from the amount of like content that was out there when I started, it was a barren wasteland. And now I can name, like, off the top of my head, there's at least 5 like videos every week of gameplay in cEDH. That's like pretty consistent. Yeah. There's a lot now, which I think is great for the format and is a very good trajectory, because the bigger we are, the bigger our voice is. So like, it only helps us in the long run.
Yeah, 100% agree on that.
I think that with the growth of these content creators and all of that, I think that just kind of like piggybacking what Folger said, that it is all positive, because we're also showing that it can be, it's shattering some perceptions that people may have had of cEDH in the past, that we're not all just a bunch of, dirty word, pub stompers, for lack of a better word. We're actually people that are here to have fun, just like everyone else is. We're all here to play EDH. That's what we're here to play. cEDH is a slang term. We're all playing the same rules. We're all playing the same format. And having this influx of these people that are having a great time. The shout out to the spike feeders. They have their footage and they're all laughing and cutting up and having a great time and talking about their game. And that really helped draw back the curtain of, well, it's all just a bunch of tryhards, or it's all just people trying to come in and win the packs whenever they have a commander night. No, it's we're all having a good time, and I think that's really, really helped our section of this format, if you will.
I don't think I've ever even played a single game of cEDH for any prize whatsoever. The closest that I could justify as a prize was the winner token I took from Garrett. And I think that's it. I think that's the only prize I've ever won playing competitive EDH.
So you got screwed. So.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I think that I think there's really good parts about like the community, content creators, and all of that. I am a little wary of cEDH and paid events, though. So I'm concerned that the format as a whole is going to be a little bit frustrated with paid events and with tournaments. I would say for me personally, the best part about cEDH is that there isn't a prize on the line. And so the whole point can be focused around playing the game and having fun there and navigating the game. And when there's actually like a prize behind that, I have a really big concern that the meta is going to devolve into Sushi Hulk or Fish Hulk really quickly whenever there is going to be, hey, I put my money into this. I want to get out of it the most that I can rather than just having fun. So I'm concerned about the growth of cEDH and paid events, specifically because of it's not balanced, and it is not going to be balanced. And that's one of the big things that the rules committee has said. My personal take on a paid event for cEDH is schedule a night with a $20 entry fee. That $20 gets me pizza and some Coke, and you will make pods for me for the next 4 hours. I am there. Screw actually having a tournament. Just give me some food and something to drink and a guaranteed pod, and I will be there. That's my idea of a cEDH tournament or a game night that I would have fun at, rather than like, all right, pairings are up. Not looking forward to that.
Well, that segues very nicely into our next question.
Oh.
The only time I get to play is F&M Commander. The meta is a mix of cEDH and casual EDH, but you have to use the same deck through the entire tournament. Do you have a recommendation for having a chance against cEDH, but not pub stomping the casual decks? And I think this one's fascinating.
Yes. I actually do have a really good recommendation for this, but I'm curious, Ryan or Folger, if either of you guys have one.
Folger, why don't you take the lead on this one first?
Yeah, thanks.
I need
a second to brew on this.
All right, then I'll start.
Okay.
So my take on this is play a cEDH meta deck. That is a deck that will do good in cEDH, but has assumptions built into it that only work in a cEDH meta. It makes it so you have a really freaking hard time against casual decks. So when I was playing Thassa seasons past with a Palancron as my like infant, this is like really early Thassa prior to...
That was 2015, right?
That was 2016, 2017, early 2017. It has an assumption built into the deck that a 4/5 on the ground is all you need for combat. And that will that'll be a wall against everything. Well, in Battlecruiser, 4/5 on the ground is chump change. Like, that's just gone. You can't even block half the creatures. And so one of the core tenets of that deck is, I don't need to worry about being attacked isn't real anymore. And you end up like, you're doing really powerful things. You have really great spot removal. You cast a Time Twister, but then you're just giving half the table 8/8 keyword soup creatures, and all you've got is a 4/5. So if you use a meta deck that can stomp on, or that can interact with cEDH, but isn't built around instantly winning, so it's not one that has a combo, it's one that is meant to kind of be a grind, like 4-color control, where you're just like, all right, hey, it's your turn. I'm gonna cast a brainstorm on your turn. You take 1, I'll draw a card. Brainstorm.
I mean, heck, just play any deck that I play into my current cEDH meta.
Yeah. I think
it'll be fine against cEDH.
Blood Pod would definitely fall into that. Blood Pod.
Yeah, there's a handful of decks that are almost fair no matter what power level you play them in like that, and they're pretty cool.
I would lean towards 1 or 2 of those, and you will have a really big challenge in the casual games, and it'll be fun in that you are having to like work through the casual games more than you have to work through the competitive games.
It inverts the difficulty.
That.
Yeah.
Either you two have any thoughts on the matter?
I like his answer. I'll use that.
It's a really good answer, and he's thought about that a lot. This question was kind of tailor-made for Cameron, given that I've heard him answer it a few different times in discussion.
Yeah.
And our final question, which you will each answer in order: how many 6-year-olds do you think you could take in a fight consecutively? Thanks, Scotty.
What?
Cameron. You mean
6-year-olds? I would probably say maybe 6 of them.
Okay. Folger.
Is this bare hand?
Bare hand.
25.
25. Ryan.
I would say probably 25 as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Dan?
I haven't actually thought about it, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's very hard to say because there's this like floating cumulative PDF of random crotch punch that you lose to
exactly
that grows with each 6-year-old.
And there's also fatigue, and there's also like,
and it's really hard to I don't know if any of you have done any fighting in your life, but it's exhausting.
6-year-olds all the time.
Even if they're small. Like, one good solid hit to knock someone out, if they are 6, will still take a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So honestly, my answer is probably more like 12 or 13 right now.
Why do you have so much insight into fighting?
Well, because I'm now thinking about it. But I have done martial arts competitively for years.
Against 6-year-olds? I mean,
Not against
I love
6-year-olds.
this question.
I've actually done judo against people who are equivalently the size of 6-year-olds, and even that's not trivial if they're talented.
That's
So,
fair.
yeah, you'd be surprised, honestly, is my answer for how small that number really would be.
Well, I
Most
guess you'd have to consider, sorry,
Go on.
what the definition of beating or like could take means. Because if it's just stopping them from attacking you, you could have hit them one time, and if they start crying, then that would like stop them from attacking you.
Yeah.
Now, if it's like literally knocking them out, or that's like a different story.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance that I think is lost in this question. Are they all showing up at once? Is it a 1v1 and then you like get a sip of water and like a chew of jerky? Do you just run out of exhaustion? Do you die from dehydration if it's been 3 days straight? Are you given water? Like, does it start increasing in difficulty? Are there more after you knock out certain amounts? Like after you beat the first?
Are the knocked out kids still in the ring with you? Do you have to walk over their like unconscious corpses or whatever? I mean,
it's very complicated.
That's why I lowballed it.
Is it like a pile up kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of
potentially start piling
things that go on. So, good, interesting question. Let's move on to our mulligan of the day. We're going to, as we do every time, pick a pod of cEDH decks that are like effectively agreed upon as viable. We're not going with any spice for this.
Mm-hmm.
So our pod today, in order: Gitrog, 2, us on Godo, 3 is Kess, and 4 is Najeela. So this is the only information we know. We don't know specifically what variety of these commanders they're on. It could be Consultation Kess. It could be Super Friends Kess. It could be regular Najeela. It could be Nathan's Flash Hulk Najeela. There's lots of different options. So we only know the commanders because that's what you sit down and see. So Cameron is going to throw up a sample hand, which he has already done.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we let the expert take it away, because I do not have any idea how to mulligan and go.
I'll read through these really quickly. So we have Volcanic Fallout, we have Mountain, we have Seething Song, we have Goblin Crater Maker, Cavern of Souls, Argentum Armor, and Conqueror's Flail.
What does Mountain do?
I believe it says that it is a basic land that taps for colorless.
Huh.
Y'all got jokes.
Card before.
Against the Godo deck. I see how it is.
To be honest, I have never played against the Godo deck, so I have my thoughts, but they're entirely theoretical. Please take it away.
So there's a couple of things that we're definitely considering. So Gitrog ran dorks, and Najeela obviously attacks with warriors. And who's the third one? Who's the last one again? We're second.
Kess is third.
Okay. Gitrog, us, Kess, Najeela.
This is a risky keep. The reason that this is a risky keep is because I love Volcanic Fallout in this against a Najeela player, against dorks from Frog. And Conqueror's Flail is really good to make sure that Kess doesn't try and counter us, and same with Cavern of Souls. Goblin Crater Maker was good to remove a colorless permanent. But man, I'm not on the mana. We have some answers, but no real ramp to try and race. This is a tough one. I might consider it because we're just red and we like risky keeps. But we can do basically, but really honestly, we're on almost nothing turns. We're on turn 1. We've got that and hope to draw some sort of mana source. But, turn 1 Mountain and or Cavern of Souls. Then T2 Crater Maker, hopefully draw a land. And then, T3 Volcanic Fallout, wipe everyone's build of what they were doing. So get rid of the dorks, get rid of maybe a swing from Najeela, take out Najeela. That's tough. That's a tough one. It really is. I like that. That was a really good.
Well, so as somebody who doesn't play Godo, but does play against Najeela and Frog very frequently, what I have kept hands that have some sort of wrath with the assumption that, hey, I'll be able to clear both of their boards and kind of stabilize from there. what has happened to me more often is that one of them plays like only artifact ramp and just gets their, like, Frog getting a mana vault is like the epitome of that situation.
Oh,
Frog on vault is a turn 2 frog without any mana dorks, and this Volcanic Fallout is a blank against him. And I have seen turn 1 Nagilas way too often to not respect that. And I think from my perspective, this is just too slow, and we probably should mulligan it.
Yeah, like I said, that's why it's such a risky keep, because we're basically not doing anything T1 and T2.
So,
and even in T3, we're still play cat. And it's a risky keep on top of it. Because like I said, we only have 2 sources, and Volcanic Fallout is 3. So
why don't we mulligan this and see what we get?
Yeah.
Mulligan.
More to talk about at the very least.
Yeah. Oh, I like this way more, and I don't even play Godo.
That seems not bad.
All right, so let's read this.
This is what I'm talking about.
Rite of
This
Flame,
is much faster. Holy
Jeweled
shit.
Amulet, Mountain, City of Traders, Mana Vault, Lotus Petal, Final Fortune.
Yeah,
That's
that's fantastic.
What the hell? This is so much mana.
You gotta snap it.
Yeah, this is
that's
like
great.
the snappest of snap keeps.
Oh, absolutely.
The one thing I love about Godo is it never ramps, and somebody countered my Godo or something like that. I'll just cast him for 13 instead of trying to instead of 11.
Yeah.
Instead of 11, I'll just go to 13. It's fine.
No.
So,
But this has
yeah.
the mana to Godo, and also has a Final Fortune, just because F you, I'm gonna win.
Yeah, that final.
Yeah, so
Fortune is
basically,
spicy. I was eyeballing
You
that.
just need to get to 8.
I'll get to 8 instead of get to 11.
Mhm.
So I just need to make sure I have enough red sources to do it. And so I could probably put a red into Jeweled, crack Lotus Petal for red. Yeah, I could just do that. So as long as I get to 8,
3?
it could be depending on what we drew. So
Snapkeep, let's see. Our first draw is a Welfare Stone or a Felwar Stone, and our second draw
Felwar
is
Stone?
Helm of the Host. Ooh.
Oh,
No, we've been screwed.
actually, no, we wouldn't, because we get Godo, fetch Hammer Nazan, Final Fortune. Next turn, cast down, auto quit.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, no, we got
Look at
this.
Actual expertise shows us that this isn't a loss, but a good hand instead. Maybe even better because of that.
Yeah. Yikes.
Nice.
I like this. All right.
All right. So we're going to move on from our mulligan. So we always close out with some upcoming events and plugs and such, and then talk about a little non-magic related something. So one of the bigger upcoming events that I want to talk about, our last guest, Braden, is helping organize.
2 guests ago.
Yeah.
2 guests ago? Oh, yeah, Nathan was our last guest. 2 guests ago, Braden is hosting or helping organize an event that is, here's a link to it. It is an Extra Life tournament that has both casual and cEDH stuff. So this is the link. So let's see. Shaper, Scotty, and Casually Competitive will all be attending the event and doing like card signings, hanging out with people, playing pickup games. So this is a tournament, actual tournament. So signups are $20 online and they're $25 day of on site. Portion of the entry fees goes towards the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So it is a partial donation event. And there are over $500 in prizes. So it takes place in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, which is where this store is. Registration begins at 9 a.m. on the... Oh, shoot. What day is it? I forgot exactly.
It's on the
day
31st. It
I
is
wrote
this
down.
Friday. So you've got 2
31st,
days.
that's
Yep.
it. Well, Saturday, right? Pre-register is 31st.
Yeah, pre-register on the 31st.
Yeah, so
but the actual
the
event's
first, so Saturday. So a few days from now, that's coming up. Man,
Mhm.
that's cool. And the tournament starts at 10 a.m. So it's been shaping up to be a fairly large event. There's a lot of different people like Shaper, Scotty, and Casually Competitive who are all going, and I've seen a lot of people already starting to register. So if you're interested in playing some more tournament cEDH or just hanging out with Shaper, Scotty, and Casually Competitive, and Braden too, you should check it out. Now,
and I think the entries are limited. I think they have a cap.
yes, they do have a cap.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do have a cap.
So
and
honestly,
CEDH cast.
here's hoping that they hit it. So that'd be great.
Yeah. cEDH cast is also going. So that's Ian Dodo and I forget exactly. No, hold up.
Braden.
No, it's a Braden.
No, cEDH cast. Yeah, that's Braden's other one.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused with all the different group names. So Braden's part of cEDH cast, which is a more recent podcast, and just podcast, or are you doing videos too? I actually only saw the podcast stuff so far. This is what I get. It's past my bedtime. Podcast, yeah. So they're doing
Yeah,
podcasts.
he has podcasts. He puts on YouTube right now. It's just, but he
makes sense.
definitely posts to YouTube. But it's podcast style right now.
Yeah. And if he throws me a link in Discord PMs, I will post it in chat for him.
And make sure it gets blocked by the bot.
Yeah. I know you all are attending a bunch of events this year, right?
Correct.
You want to talk about those?
Sure. So we are currently scheduled to go to at least 4. So we're going to be going to Magic Fest Toronto. Big hype for that. If you guys, anybody can make it out to that, definitely make it out. Our goal is to have the cEDH pool be bigger than the regular EDH pool.
Wow, that is a goal.
We want the anyway. So we have a bunch of really cool people from the cEDH community going. Spike Feeders going, Into the North is going. The Pennsylvania crew is going, so that includes Shaper and them, and a bunch of others too. I can't even name them all right now, but that's going to be a ton of fun. We are going to go to SCG-Con Summer. That's in June. We're going to be going, of course, to Magic Fest Vegas again this year. We're going to make sure that that's an annual event. We absolutely had a blast last time. We met you guys in person, of course, and gave you that winner tip, apparently. So
100% worth.
Yeah. And then we're going to go to SCG-Con Winter again, November in Roanoke again. So we're going to at least 4. And if there's some more that we can end up going to, we'll play that a little bit more by ear. But yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun doing that this year.
Have they actually published any more Command Fest schedules?
No.
Because
I've been on the lookout for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I kind of wanted to go to those. There was the DC, there was the Seattle, and then
Chicago.
I think. Yeah.
Yep. Chicago.
With like 3 weeks notice for all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did Seattle. Boxy. It was great.
How was it? I didn't get much feedback on it.
So if you went to any of them that weren't run by Channel Fireball, the EV was actually really solid. If you went to the ones run by Channel Fireball, it was a money pit, but it was a fun money pit. To explain that, you got like 4 vouchers with a 3-day pass, and those were for like on-demand pods. And the average EV for the pod out of the Seattle one was 3 packs. Was for the entire pod was the EV. For the Chicago one, the average EV for a pod was 18.5 packs.
Jesus Christ.
3 to 18.5? That's insane.
That was Chicago. Yeah, and those were on the same weekends. Then the other thing is that there was an after party, or there was a commander party for the Seattle one, and it was like an extra $100 to go to that as well if you wanted to. I didn't know where it was being hosted. Apparently it was hosted in a restaurant at it previously was like the Experience Music Project. Now it's like the MoCap, or they changed the name, but it's at a music and sci-fi museum in Seattle. And it was a pretty posh place apparently, but they ended up they had it booked out as their only thing there. So for the venue, I understand the $100, but they didn't actually say where it was beforehand. And so not knowing where it was, just saying, hey, it's an extra $100, because like for those, it kind of feels like, oh, hey, it's an after party. Okay, well, where is it? Oh, it's at the convention center. It's just in a different room, is kind of what it felt like it was. But then it's like, no, it's actually at a really nice restaurant with pretty solid food.
That's cool, at least.
Yeah, I didn't end up going, but I just heard about it after the fact.
Yeah, I think they all seem very thrown together. But it's cool that's the kind of turn and kind of how it ended up. That's nice to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely considering going to them if they would just announce them. So I have no idea.
Yeah, I 100% agree there.
Yeah,
maybe we'll find out about the Valentine's Day themed one in like Texas.
A week from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, a week from now.
Yes.
So with that, I think we are done with any magic-related portion of our review, and since we're nearly finished, it's time to talk about something vaguely non-magic related. So, anybody want to throw something out there? Chat about it a little bit? What have you been enjoying outside of magic recently?
Ryan? How about we'll start with you? I'll put you on the spot.
Okay, that's fine. I live and breathe magic. So when I'm not playing magic, I'm brewing magic. When I'm not brewing magic, I'm doing stuff for the channel and for our Discord and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I don't really have a whole lot. I wish I had more. I honestly do, but
okay.
Magic is my life right now, and I'm happy to have that life. It's what I do. So.
I gotcha.
Well, can I interest you in a Netflix series called The Witcher, based on a series of books called The Witcher?
That
Because
also might
really
have a
good.
video game associated with it called The Witcher.
The Witcher.
That's less relevant.
Honestly. Creative title work.
Yeah, it is very. Would recommend.
Obviously I've heard nothing but good. Tell me about it.
Well, no, because there's spoilers.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Just check it out is what you're telling me.
Yeah, so if you liked Game of Thrones but would rather watch good TV, then you'd probably like The Witcher. If you didn't like Game of Thrones because you like good TV, you'd probably really like The Witcher.
Can I just,
if you somehow don't know what Game of Thrones is, well then watch The Witcher.
Oh.
It's great.
I am on board with saying seasons 7 and 8 of Game was bad, but 1 through 6 was very good.
All right, I suppose the things George R. Martin wrote.
There we go.
Yeah.
You're right.
Probably the thing that has stood out the most about the Witcher show is the sword fighting sections of it are tight. They are brilliantly done. They feel very visceral. The action is great. Like they had a whole sequence that was just a single take. And some of the stuff was added in after the fact, but all of the action being in one take without like cuts or like the really fake action movie fighting was really appreciated and made it feel very real and in your face. The alternative take on like medieval fairy tale is really fun. It from a story perspective, Ryan, or I don't know how much you are into like Arthurian myth and like what you have as the classic Anglo-Saxon fairy tales where you've got the Fae, you've got Merlin, you've got Arthur, basically Eldraine in a nutshell, but not magic.
Yeah.
And The Witcher takes a lot of those same things, like the same type of creatures, but pushes it into a slightly different universe and takes a little bit of a different take on it. And basically takes the main like structures and totally removes them. And it's like, this is medieval Europe, but they've had to deal with the fact that they've just had uncontrolled and like unstructured magic thrust onto them for the last few centuries.
Yeah.
And so there's no like fairy court. There's just random monsters in the wood that kill people, and they hire people to go hunt them down and kill them. Or as the town gets together and they round up a posse with pitchforks and go burn down the forest because it's easier than finding the thing and killing it. So it's a much more grimdark fairy tale style of stuff, and it's really fun.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I'll have to squeeze some time in between making episodes. Check it out.
Hey, when it's rendering, you have time.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
But
Cameron knows.
Yes.
He spends a lot of time rendering.
Yeah, A lot. I mean, the last episode I tried rendering ended up taking, I think, 19 hours to render in one batch. It was crazy.
Upgrade that machine, my friend.
No, when you have like 34 layers and multiple chroma keys and every source is 1080-60, just the data wise it takes a while. So
I understand that. So.
Yeah. But no, actually people were talking about The Witcher, and it actually got me to start playing The Witcher 3, which I've had. It's one of those Steam games that I bought. It was actually the test game I was trying to play on this computer when I built this computer, and I just never got into it. And so watching the show got me and Thassa to start playing that, and we hot seat it
cool.
In our living room just with one controller and hand it back and forth. So it's pretty fun.
Nice.
Another game, if you've got the time, which this will take way more time, and you can't do it while you're rendering, than watching the show. But it's very fun.
Who's got that much time anymore?
I actually think there's more in The Witcher 3 than there is in Skyrim. I'm pretty sure there is. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's very expansive, to say the least.
Needless to say, I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk. I'm sad it's delayed till September, but they can take
should be
all
happy
the
it's delayed
time
until September.
they want to
now.
get that as good as they've made The Witcher.
Yeah, never complain about a delayed game.
No.
Yeah.
Especially from CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, really. With that, we have reached the end of our agenda, and we have reached the end of our time. So, thank you, Ryan and Folger, for joining us tonight for our January, our first 2020 month in review. Thank you to Cameron for obviously doing all the hard stuff. Yeah, I guess we'll see you next time. This will be posted on YouTube probably within a week or two.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get it out on Monday.
Cool. Well, then we will see you then, I suppose, and you'll see Ryan and Folger in whatever the next Playing with Power video you watch is, or this, I guess, if you watch this before you watch Power video.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Thanks. You don't necessarily see you guys as much as you would see you two in this video either. So.
That's fair.
Well, you might see our hands.
Yeah.
Playing with Power video.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, so thank you all for watching. I had a great time. I had a great time chatting with all of you, interacting with chat. It was fun. Thank you.
Yes.
And that's a good night from me.
Good night, everybody.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.